Welcome to another edition of Hey Bobby with Senior VP of the Cleveland Guardians, Bob DiBiasio, with us here on 93.5, 1590 WAKR. And Tuesday, they did it again with another field with the Cleveland Guardians as Jose Ramirez was at Clark Field for Jose Ramirez. And this isn't the first time that the Cleveland Guardians have done this. We can go back with CC Sabathia, and we can go back in time as well with Jim Thome. So, Bobby, let's talk about this field dedication, maybe a little bit on what transpired yesterday with Jose and kind of the history of this whole thing.
Ray, one of the most important things we can do as a franchise is to improve the quality of youth baseball and youth softball in our community. And that's one of the missions of Cleveland Guardians charities. We want to transform lives. We want to prepare youth for success. And we think doing so through the great game of baseball and softball is a wonderful way to do that. How do you get kids in Northeast Ohio in the springtime to embrace the games of baseball and softball? And that's by creating fields that provide them that opportunity on a consistent basis. As you know, if you have a grass and dirt field and it rains and is cold, you could miss 6 days of practice and games. And so we just felt over the last few years that let's dive into the reality of that and see how we can impact it with field turf facilities. Started with League Park way back, working long and hard with the city, the state government, federal government. So we have a field turf in the Huff neighborhood at League Park. And then we thought about how else can we go about dotting around the city field turf facilities. Luke Easter Park. Luke Easter, one of the great names in our franchise history. CC Sabathia, as part of the MLB All-Star Game Legacy Project, building a field turf facility at Luke Easter Park. And then we did Brookside Park through the same legacy program under Jim Thome's name. And here yesterday, we were able to honor the commitment Jose Ramirez made to our franchise. One of the things we told him in midst of the conversation when he was debating his free agency status and to sign with us is that we would build a ballpark and a playground in his hometown in the Dominican Republic, and then build a field turf facility here in Cleveland in his honor. With his assistance, he's donated a lot of money to this project. And it's in the Clark Fulton area, which is the largest Hispanic neighborhood in the state of Ohio, not just in Cleveland. And so it was a wonderful day. The kids at Lincoln West High School, the baseball team, the coaches, athletic department, they were there with all great smiles because this is their new field and that they get to play on, which is pretty cool. It started as just a park that the city needed to really focus on and renovate. And then when we jumped into the conversation, it turned into not only a beautiful new park for that neighborhood, but a awesome baseball field.
And I just love the whole circle of success here from the player, from the organization, to the kids, to the park. And I was reflecting to my wife just a couple of weeks ago, up at the end of our street, there's a little baseball field. And I have to say, I haven't seen a lot of kids playing there in the last couple of years. But during this summer, I saw a bunch of kids picking up their mitts and bats and balls like you and I, Bobby, used to do when we were kids. And they were over there playing ball. It's like you said, these kids aren't going to play ball unless there's a field. And like you said, with the climate we live in, that extra commitment that takes dollars at a commitment of these field turf fields. Well done. Well done.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's now we're thinking, in the long term, where's the next one as we always work towards that goal? What's next on the list, and working with city government and concerned citizens. We are focused in on this because we've Guardians Charities the last 34 years has provided millions and millions of dollars to funding and supporting not only the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Ohio, and then with the refreshed commitment to the quality of baseball and youth softball, in addition to those health and wellness and a number of educational programs that are in place.
Senior VP with the Cleveland Guardians, Bob DiBiasio, with us. Hey, Bobby, and Bobby, you talked about Jose Ramirez, and he's pretty special. And I don't know if a lot of people, certainly in Cleveland, because I've loved going to the games this year, and the crowd just loves him. And I think they love him even more so that he made that long-term commitment to the franchise. He's become their own. When he comes up, it's Jose, just love the whole thing. But he's a pretty special player on the field. We often talk about the tools. Man, he's a 5-tool guy. Power, hits, drives and runs, plays defense, runs the bases, and a true team leader. This guy is something else, and wearing our Guardians uniform.
I'm glad you added that last little item, team leader. Don't know if that's as well known as it should be, that he takes that badge of honor and wears it proudly. Not every baseball player wants to add that added duty and responsibility to their resume. It's hard enough just to be a good Major League Baseball player, but to add the responsibility of being a leader in a clubhouse takes a special guy and a special personality and a special drive. I think the one thing you can talk about when you talk about Jose Ramirez, he's the only guy, and again, 123-year history of our franchise. He is the only player to have 150 home runs and 150 stolen bases. So when you talk about the all-around player that is Jose Ramirez, that statistic alone, I think, speaks loudly as to where his position in our franchise is. He's been intentionally walked 35 times since 2022, which shows you his position on our team. Obviously, our offense isn't the powerhouse juggernaut that the 90s were, but teams know who the star of this ball club is, and not give a chance. Charlie Nagy over this past weekend, when we inducted Manny Ramirez and Dale Mitchell into our Hall of Fame at one of the Q&A sessions, Charlie Nagy, who was the pitching coach in our system and also for the Los Angeles Angels. He was actually Shohei Ohtani's first pitching coach in the big leagues. He said, I don't know why teams pitch to Jose Ramirez. I don't get it. It just makes no sense. But he ranks 6th in doubles in our franchise. He ranks 4th in our franchise history in extra base hits. He jumped over an incredible name, Hal Trotsky, in our franchise history. Next, he has 566, I believe, to date, is my last look at the numbers. And his next on the list is first ballot Hall of Famer Jim Thome, who ranks 3rd, and he has 620. So he's somewhere in reach over the next few years of jumping to 3rd. So it'll be interesting to see how high Jose gets on all of our top 10 lists in our batting rankings.
Bobby, and the numbers, I think, speak for themselves, but something that you are attuned with, because you, like me, are a baseball junkie. His baseball IQ. Every time you watch the guy play, he does something with his IQ of throwing to the right base, running behind the baseball, taking the extra base. His baseball IQ is out the roof to me. That doesn't happen with every player.
No, and you would think it would happen with every player, but it doesn't. And there are ball players who are much more acute in their knowledge than others. Jose, if you ever watched him or they show him in the dugout, he's not head down doing some other things. He's looking at the pitcher. He's looking at what's going out on the base paths. He's looking to see what advantage can he take next time he gets out on the ball field. He studies pregame. He knows what he wants to get done. And he's trying to instill that into all these young middle infielders that we have on this baseball team, and the Oscar Gonzalez's of the world. And so if there was a gentleman in this day and age of the economic realities of our sport, that, you know, major markets can spend a gazillion dollars more than, you know, the 16 of us in the middle market world, having a ball player commit to you that is the caliber of a Jose Ramirez, who wants to be a leader, who understands his position in our franchise and where he can end up in our franchise, then we are blessed.
I agree. And the word is thrown around a lot, but I think he's a great baseball player. Senior VP with the Cleveland Guardians, Bob DiBiasio. He joins us for Hey Bobby each week. And Bobby, as always, thank you for the time, my friend. We'll reconnect again next week here on WAKR.
Sounds good, Ray. Always fun. Take care, buddy. Go Guardians.